Hey everyone, welcome back to Key Lessons for this deck diary entry, and this is a video and a deck that I've been wanting to do for a while now. It's been a long time since it terrorized the meta, and as someone who owns the card, I really miss Victory Strike. Now I realize that the number of people owning a copy of Son Goku The Awakened Power are few, and even less are willing to devalue it by using it in a deck, but my hope is with this video, as well as any of these deck diary videos, is that you can still get a lesson or two in how to approach thinking about deck building from it, even if you aren't going to build the deck that is in the video. If you weren't around at the time that this card was seen play, this card broke many a player's heart. If you take damage from it, you lose, and you would have a very hard time not taking damage from it. The Victory Strike player would never attack your leader until they were ready to go for game, to avoid letting you awaken and have enough cards in your hand to combo. Before I talk about ideas on how to play it in today's meta, I think it might be useful to go down memory lane and talk about what it used to be like to play. Back then, most Victory Strike players were using the yellow Broly leader, whereas I, a man of culture, I was using the Freezer leader from Tournament Power set. This is the list that earned me my best major tournament appearance to date, 14th place. And I want to bring this up just as a side note, but this is a screenshot that I've kept from when I originally made it, and this was made with Shenron's Lair at the time. And I must say I really miss having access to this screenshot view. Nothing against Deck Planet, which is a fantastic site, but I really like this layout, how it shows the number of cards visually the way I would if I physically laid out the deck and took a photo. So anyway, this build was during set 6, so keep that in mind that Objection and Bad Ring Laser weren't banned yet, and counter plays weren't as prevalent as they are today, so you could safely play Path to Greatness. The counterplays hitting Path to Greatness is what's really killing this strategy these days, but more on that in a minute. The idea with this deck is very straightforward. Get your hand as big as possible. The Shen Roshi combo was the draw apes of its day, and the leader was perfect in that you could draw without attacking, but therefore not giving your opponent's cards from taking hits to life. And it would also fill your drop, which is important because Path to Greatness needed 7 in the drop to swap into Height of Mastery. The leader needed Universe 7 to drop in order to draw, and Path to Greatness needed Yellow Energy to swap, which is why the Freezer cards are in the deck. They're Yellow and they're Universe 7. And they were okay as an emergency alternative win comp. As mentioned, I needed 4 yellow energy, and that was important, but by turn 2, I would want to have 1 blue energy in order to use Objection. Then, from then on, I'm an energy ahead and have blue available to me, so I can use Senzu Bean to extend my plays. Turn 3, I would play Path to Greatness, and if I need to do anything more like the Shen Roshi combo or play Searchers if I haven't found Height of Mastery or Awakened Power yet, I can attack battle cards with my leader and Senzu Bean in order to open up the energy I need. Turn 4, I have 5 energy, which is enough to swap into Height. When played, will rest my opponent's energy or blockers to really leave them with as little defense as possible. And then the last energy would be used to evolve into Awakened Power, which does require to drop a Universe 7, but that shouldn't be a problem because Path got swapped into hand. If everything went well, I would usually be able to combo up to 100,000 and the opponent would still be on 8 life, unawakened, and have nowhere near enough of a hand to deal with that. If that sounds oppressive to you, don't worry. Many on the receiving end of such smackdowns voiced that opinion on Facebook as well. There were a lot of shouts to ban it, and thankfully Bandai didn't listen and instead did a smarter thing. Subtly neutered it in many small ways with new cards and formats that made it less of a viable or attractive strategy. New leaders that would come out would more and more have built-in self-awakening. Removal is easier to fit in all decks now, and counterplays became a big thing. I actually took to Nationals a version of this deck that had the set 6 Gogeta as the leader in order to get around Denial of Hope. And it was a pretty good best of 1 deck, but games 2 and 3 the opponents knew what to do at that point. And so ended the reign of Victory Strike. It would make the occasional appearance here and there, most recently when they released the new leader and unison promos for Goku's lineage. A turn 2 Victory Strike strategy was discovered and Bandai had to quickly clamp down on that, limiting Hope of Universe 7 in an emergency ban list. During set 9, my main deck was Invoker, and I won our store champs with it, but I only had Awakened Power in the sideboard. It wasn't the main focus of the deck. But the fact that you could play Energy Explosion Goku get 3 untapped energy, and then be able to evolve on top of it was quite useful. Path to Greatness into Height of Mastery hasn't been a safe play for a long time, and although Rival Seeker into Energy Explosion has the same weakness of counterplay as being able to hit the 3-drop, in theory, it is a little better in that the play doesn't have to be across 2 turns in order for there to be enough energy to pull it off. And so I've been wanting to make a new Victory Strike deck built around Rival Seeker for a long time now, but there's only been one problem. For the life of me, I could not get my hands on enough copies of it. I always had an eye out on sales posts, and when looking through people's trades, and I've made looking to buy posts repeatedly. I even had a problem where I finally found one for sale, and I bought it off the seller, and he just never sent it. And it resulted in me having to involve admins to get my money back. The other week, I couldn't fight off the urge anymore, and tried modernizing the Height of Mastery line, because that's all I do without having the Rival Seeker. And this is what I came up with, and whether it could be better with some tweaks or not, doesn't matter. One test game of this and I knew it didn't feel good and it wasn't really worth the time investment in making it better. But then, at last, it happened. I was going through my mate's trade binder and I found the elusive Rival Seeker. Now I have enough copies to try something with it. Only 3, but that's a lot better than 2. Okay, where to start? On my desk, I've pulled out a whole heap of cards that I've thought of that could be useful. Not everything though, but let's talk about the leaders. My 2 preferred choices at the moment are Gohan from set 14 and Goku from the set 9 starter deck. Gohan I like for his ability to draw when he's comboing, which can be done on both turns, and his ability to Spirit Boost and make the combo power of skillless cards stronger. Whereas Goku, I like that he is critical on both sides. He does have the downside of not drawing on his front side, but it should be easy enough to awaken by turn 2 by playing the 2-drop red-blue Goku that goes with that deck. With self-awakening and alternative awaken conditions being very common these days, simply not attacking their leader isn't good enough anymore, and that's where I like that the Goku leader is critical. If they're going to awaken anyway, I might as well attack them and either a life goes straight to the drop or they waste cards defending it. I'm specifically leaning towards red leaders at this point in time because I'm interested in trying some of the new Universe 7 cards from Realm of the Gods that specifically require a red leader. Though they do require sparking, so I'll have to test and see if they're too clunky to run with these leaders that don't burst. I particularly like the Android 17. For 1 energy, he can be played, he searches when he attacks, and he can have double strike, which is valuable in unison control. And that will be important in making sure that I'm not hit with any counter plays when attempting to get out my awakened power. The key to this deck is Rival Seeker, which is a card that works effortlessly in an Invoker deck, but while I haven't ruled it out yet, I'm not looking to put too much of an Invoker engine in the deck because I want big combo power. If they didn't errata the Android 17 most valuable player, that would be a different story, but it is what it is. So for Rival Seeker to bring out Energy Explosion, it needs to return 2 red-blue extra cards from the warp to hand. If I'm using all the cards that require sparking, I won't be getting those extra cards into the warp by overwhelming, so that rules out using cheaper cards like Combination Attack. I'm going to need to put in cards like Emperor's Death Beam, as that can put itself into warp. Honestly, this could end up being too clunky to work, but fortunately, I won't have to pay 3 energy to use the card to get it into the drop, because there are these cards, Frieza and Android 18. Now, there's an argument for both of these. If I'm running searches like 17 and Gohan that only find red Universe 7s, it's better to populate the deck with red cards as much as I can. Plus, Frieza will trash the extra card from the deck, which is much more convenient, whereas Android 18 will be ditching it from hand, but will be adding 6,000 to her combo power, making it as good as 3 cards in the combo area. Sky's the limit on what unison to use, but I think there might be some potential in using cover. The Vegeta promo that can bring it out has Universe 7 traits, so there's synergy there, and his ability to reduce cards' power by 10,000 could be useful in controlling my opponent's board. If I go with the Gohan leader, I might be better off using the Frieza Unison that came from the same set, as that Unison is more built for that deck. If I'm going to be comboing with skillless cards, that Unison will enhance that strategy. So when it comes to choosing which leader, it's going to just come down to what works better. The Goku leader could potentially be clunky because you have to play the 2-cost Goku to awaken on turn 2, and when you awaken you don't untap energy, so that is a little bit clunky. But on the other hand, I do like that it is critical. Whereas the Gohan leader, to draw you got a combo, and although you can do that on your opponent's turn as well as your own, the way the Victory Strike strategy usually goes, you don't want to attack their leader, so you may be in a position where the only thing you can attack is their leader, and you're like, do I give them a card by letting them take a life, or do I just not draw this turn? These are things we've got to weigh up. And weigh them up I shall. In follow-up to this video, I will be releasing the deck profile that I come up with. So click on to the next video because I'll release them together and that deck profile will be ready to go when you finish watching this one. Alright, I'll see you over there on the next video.